Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, this week I've had a lot on my heart. I've had several leads that have come in on cases of young people that are being exploited either through sex trafficking or social media exploitation. And that's driven me down a road I want to share with you today. For those of you that don't normally follow this show is brought to you by an organization called Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org. We're an organization that's been in existence now 15 years, hard to believe. And we have been working with the Riverside County Sheriff Department to combat sex trafficking and in the Riverside County District Attorney's Office to combat social media exploitation of our children. Those are our crazy kids who get online and forget what they're doing, or even worse, they get all mesmerized and decide they're in love with somebody and make some poor choices. And the rest is history. And that's when we get involved in this. So we've been doing this for a very long time. We also support the group over in San Bernardino County, too, for what it's worth. Great people over there. Love them all, especially love the Fontana Police Department. They're just amazing people in combating online child sex crimes. But the one common denominator that I often run into in this, because as you might imagine, I take these calls. They're calls from grandparents and parents, and sometimes even the kid themselves. Sometimes it's a teacher or a school resource officer, and they have a situation. And, they're just heartbreaking. And a lot of times people will say to me, well, how can you possibly live in this world? Well, beats heck out of me. I get up every morning and start over. That's how it works. But the one common denominator, as I've thought about this in case after case after case, is in helping our children build a sense of strong self-worth. Here's what I know about exploitation, whether you're an adult that's out there on one of those dating sites, or maybe one of those hookup sites, or you're talking to strangers on the internet in the hopes of meeting someone exciting who is going to love you for what you're worth and take you at face value and overlook your shortcomings and embrace your talents and your skills. And you have all of these hopes as you go online. But the thing that a predator will look for, whether it's you as an adult or one of your teenage children, and God forbid, sometimes prepubescent children, they look for available and vulnerable. They look for people who are looking for love in all the wrong places. I think I remember that old song. But they're looking for people that are willing to take chances, and especially people that maybe don't have a strong opinion of themselves, or they're willing to overlook it, or they decide maybe this is the best I'm going to get. And so I want to talk about that today because it's not all that easy. I'm not suggesting I have all the answers by any means. I've made my own share of mistakes in my lifetime, as all of you have. But I always come down that the common denominator is if we can build strong character in our children, if we can build a strong sense of self-worth. And I'm not talking about, self-esteem like I got the trophy and so didn't. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those core values that will give the child or the adult the strength to make the right decisions. This is really, really important in a world where we have online relationships. I often just kind of marvel at where we are at in society because we put our kids online without ever defining for them, number one, how the internet is made, and two, where those interactions, especially those with illicit photos, are going to go out to, where they're going to end up, and why somebody wants to do that, and who are they. I think that it's very, very critical that our kids understand that out on the internet are good guys and bad guys. Now, our guys know that today, our children know that today, but somehow they always think that they're going to be so smart that they won't end up being a victim. Every kid I've ever met says it won't happen to me. And quite frankly, every case I've seen of adult exploitation, a while back, I talked about those online dating sites and how crazy they get. That in those cases, these were attractive women, smart women, attractive men, smart men who were accomplished, who could be a wonderful partner in a healthy marital relationship, that continued to lower their standards online in the hopes and prayer that the person on the other end is really who they say they are, without ever verifying, in fact, who they are. In fact, some of them took it to enormous levels. In some of those cases, they've sent off $12,000. A couple of cases, they sent off over $100,000. And these are smart people. And as you're watching them as they're crying and they feel their loss and their shame, you say to yourself, how can this happen that we end up so exploited without understanding how we got there? The other thing that I say is the reverse of that coin is, how can I bulletproof our kids so they don't end up being those victims? Because this generation, I often say, will be the generation that will be online with the whole world, and they won't be able to tell who they are. I often give specific guidance, and you might want to do that too with your children, even if they're 17, 18 years old, or even 21, 22 years old and off to college. The first thing they will do if you meet somebody online is move you to another app. So look at that relationship. Are you on a dating site and they're saying, hey, these people are recording everything we say, let's talk offline? Bingo, red flag. Same kind of thing with your kids. They meet on TikTok and they says, hey, meet me over on Instagram and get me more of those videos. I'm going to make you famous. They will move you. That's the first one. They'll ask a lot of questions about you because they want to control the circumstances. And so therefore, they know more about you. You're giving all this information, trying to impress them, and they're not giving you much that you can actually research and find out if they are who they say they are. And by the way, if you're on one of those dating sites or your kids are on one of those dating sites, teach your kids that you better find out who they are before you even have the second or third conversation with them, because you need to know who you're dealing with. And are they for real or aren't they? And there are a variety of ways. I gave you some last time on how to track them down. But what happens here with working with kids online is that the primary factor that is going on is a core belief that they're not enough. This is the absolute commonality I find of victims of exploitation, that they're looking out there for somebody else to make them happy, somebody else to make them rich, somebody else to recognize their talents and skills and their successes, maybe somebody to rescue them because things aren't going quite right. And so these are the kinds of things that pedophiles and perpetrators out there on the dating sites are looking for, is someone that may not feel real good about themselves, or at least what they feel is kind of a driving thing and says, okay, it's okay to take chances. I think about that because we all realize that one of the factors of going through puberty is that we look around to see if you're desirable or not. Can you catch a guy? Can you catch a girl? Can you find somebody that's impressed with you? Are you popular enough? You hate going to those dances because what if nobody invites you? And so it's kind of like putting yourself out on the open market with the belief that you're not marketable, that you won't succeed. You see the cheerleaders, you see the sports guys, and you say, I'm not one of them. And so I need to know if somebody going to like me. And then it's almost like a barter up program. Okay, you get the nerd down the street likes you, with his whatever going on. And you say to yourself, well, okay, somebody likes me. Now, can I improve my odds? Can I get somebody better than that? And, that's all part of that overall process. And so as you start to look at this, you make yourself available and vulnerable out there. And that makes you easy prey for someone to come along beside you and take advantage of you. This is Opal Singleton. We are up against that break, so we'll be right back.
Listen up, folks. You no longer have to drive out of the IE for a great restaurant experience. The Toasted Barrel, an upscale casual steakhouse located in Corona, has been winning award after award for their great diverse menu, service, ambience, wine, and cocktails. Customers call the Barrel the perfect date night. Inland Empire Magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant 4 years in a row. Wine Spectator recognized the Toasted Barrel's wine program for their award of excellence. Toasted Barrel is famous for their certified Angus beef, prime, Wagyu, and Kobe steaks, and they have some of the best pasta and seafood around. With happy hour and daily specials every day of the week, their appetizers and drink selections are the best around. Live music starts every Friday and Saturday at 5:30. Planning a dinner party, wedding rehearsal, family gathering, or holiday party? Look up Toasted Barrel online and make your reservation today.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about how to avoid exploitation for parents, for adults, for teenagers, online especially. And but it isn't always just online. I want to make that clear. I work in sex trafficking, and every victim I ever talked to that had fallen prey to a pimp or a sex trafficking ring, 60% of them came from foster care. And many of them have backgrounds where they were exploited. And it is believed that as much as 80% of people in sex trafficking, where they're put out for forced prostitution, actually had some sort of event where they were violated, were previously sexually violated. But we also see something like that is a lot more subtle when we look at the crime of online exploitation. Now, those people not necessarily were exploited, but there is a whole host of people out there that end up becoming victimized online. And the common denominator, the bottom line factor in all of that is that they lacked a sense of self-value. They lacked that feeling of being worthy, that they were willing to take chances that cost them a lot in the hopes and the belief that they're going to find the one person who believes in them. And, that's a hard subject to discuss, I will say. I will never forget the first time someone told me that I had been married for years and years and years and years, happily married, by the way. And someone told me that I was responsible for my own happiness. And I'm like, what? You got to be kidding. He makes me happy. And they're saying, but the minute he's gone out of your life, what are you going to do? You have to decide in yourself to be happy. Certainly, some of his actions made me very happy, like rings and vacations and flowers and things like that. But some of his actions didn't make me too happy. Okay. Like when he cut my budget. Hello. Anyway, but it was an interesting discussion and an interesting growth time for me to understand that each and every individual, whether they're married or single, is responsible for the decisions they make about their own worth and about their own happiness. And that is really, really true of our children. Almost every one of those people that get violated online, whether it's through a dating site or an app or just a hookup, whether they're an adult or a child, is they are looking for someone else to make them happy, to recognize their worth, to reinforce their self-worth. And the minute you do that, you are going to open a door to being exploited. So as I began to look at this, I began to do a lot of reading about self-worth and self-esteem. Self-worth is a bit different than self-esteem. And I really guess I hadn't actually thought this out till I did this research for you. Self-worth is like the foundation, the belief that you are fundamentally worthy. This is coming from a website called Loner Wolf, by the way. I'm not sure I endorse everything he said, but you might look up Loner Wolf. I think he's got some good ideas. His analogy is that self-worth is like the trunks and the root of a tree, but that self-esteem is like the branches of a tree. It's that feeling good or confident about yourself. The main problem with that is if you go online and you aren't feeling good about yourself, you will be extremely vulnerable. So one of the things about self-worth that they went on to say is that it helps you value yourself, to love and respect yourself, to be confident that you most of the time make wise decisions. Now, we all make mistakes, and then we need to learn to forgive our mistakes and say, okay, I gave that a shot and that didn't work out. Let's try it this way again. So we can't be afraid to fail, but failing will not define who we are. Okay, we attempted this, we attempted that, but that does not define our worth. It also helps us create personal boundaries. And I'm going to tell you that that single factor when you're online is absolutely huge because personal boundaries, when you're online, especially your teenagers, and I believe this is worthy of a family talk. Because the minute you get online, especially, for instance, in metaverse, where you're in an AI world, an extended reality, an augmented reality, where you're playing a video game that has a whole lot of sexual images, and you're talking to people you don't know, it is really easy to overlook your personal boundaries because you don't want to look like a wuss to the guys in the chat room. And so they will push that button. These people are really, really good at exploiting. So it's very important to have that conversation is, I often call that digital morality. In online gaming, we're killing everybody. Sometimes we have sex for money and kill them to get the money back. There is no relationship. There's no thought process going on. It's just part of the game and what you have to do for the team to be able, depending on whether you're a first-person shooter or in a role-playing game. But it is important to talk about digital morality, what is done online, because I believe that's part of building character. This generation of kids are going to live online. It's going to happen. They're doing it younger and younger and younger. And there's this sense of getting away with things because you're in augmented reality. And so you say to yourself, well, I can do that online, but, and that's what pedophiles count on is if you're willing to do it digitally, you're probably willing to do it in real life. So it is important, more important for this generation to understand what personal boundaries are and how they are going to affect your real life. Self-worth allows you ability to be confident, to know who you are. I often share with kids, Every time you make a decision to take the high road and not the low road, you make a decision to do what is right instead of what is easy, you gain character. And it is that character that gives you the foundation for self-confidence. It's that character that makes you who you are. It makes you authentic. It makes you different than all other people. And I really believe that that's an important part of a parental conversation, even with your children online, that I, as a parent, can bring you up to a certain level. I can impose my standards on you and say, as long as you live in this house, we are people of success. We want what's right. We set goals. We want to attain good things. We follow, we discipline ourselves. We are out to succeed, and we are going to do what is right. But at some point, you're in your early teens, you start to decide who you are as a person, and you make those decisions. Am I going to take a shortcut? Is it okay for me to do rape, steal, and pillar online, but not in person? Because does that define who you are or your character is, even in your avatar? Are you going to be a person who sets standards, who starts to decide, I want to be somebody? I have a new family member that I'm extremely proud of. I won't say names or where, but he was only 20 years old. He graduated high school early, went off to college in a completely different state, didn't know anybody there. He completed aerospace engineering college in 3 years, and he was summa cum laude, and I'm proud as I can be. He believes he can get his master's before he turns 22, by the time he's 21, and he hopes to have his doctorate in aerospace engineering by 23 or 24. Now, here's a kid who plays video games. Here's a kid who's smart as a whip. Here is a kid who came from a fractured family environment. But this young man knows who he is and what he stands for. And he will tell you, though I enjoy my life, I am not going to take shortcuts. I am disciplined, and I am going to go the shortest distance between 2 points to get the goal of my dream. I have things I want to make. I have things I want to develop. And it is that kind of thinking that keeps a young man who had every opportunity to go astray, every opportunity. I'm not saying he's perfect by any means. I know him well enough by now to know that. But you have to be impressed that this young man has come out of a fractured family and said, this is what that's their problem. They'll deal with it. But I'm an adult. This is who I am. This is who I want to be. And I'm not going to do anything that's going to create unnecessary roadblocks. And I admire that approach to a life. And I admire the parental approach to that has supported him in his effort to do what he has decided to do. My name is Opal Singleton. This show is brought to you by millionkids.org. We're up against that break, so stay with us and we will go deeper yet. Be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. We are talking about self-worth and why it is so important. It gives you that authenticity, and I would really like to have that shared with every young person we can. You know, you can start out in life with everything in the world against you, but once you begin to go through puberty and become an adult, you're like a blank canvas, or maybe a canvas where they put the shading in the background. And maybe in many of those canvases, that shading's pretty dark and pretty undefined, or even feels abused and evil. In others, it just feels like you're unimportant, that everybody else in the family is more important, or you feel like they don't reflect your values. I would hope that you would share with your young people that as they go through puberty, their life is like their canvas. They get to paint the picture on it. And every time they contribute to it, it will begin to define who they are. It is a journey of starting to say, am I a person who takes shortcuts, or am I a person who wants to succeed? Do I feel that I have my own value, that the choices I make? One of the most rewarding times of my life over the years was when somebody explained to me, and I will say I was well into middle age before I figured this out, that self-esteem is a decision you get to make yourself. And you will either make that decision or other people will make it for you. And the person who wins is the person who decides that they are going to be somebody and they are going to control what the input is on that somebody, that canvas that they begin to paint on their own. And so it gives you meaning in life. It teaches you to set goals. Now, you'll have setbacks. You'll make choices that aren't right. And you go, okay, I think I'll take that paint out and put a different color in because that was painful. I didn't like that one. It takes you away from toxic people, because once you decide you have value, then you want to be around people of value, people who don't want to take the low road, people who don't, you want to be, who will not abuse other people. If you choose bad people to hang around with, you're endorsing what they stand for. And so that meaning of life is extremely powerful. It keeps you away from those toxic people. I've met person after person, and I suppose I'm one of them actually, that will begin in a relationship with a toxic person, and you're halfway down the road before you realize just how toxic that person is. Do the people you hang around with, are they successful? Are they people who feel good about themselves? Are there people that are willing to build you up and you build them up? Not somebody who comes in and rescues you. That is a whole different ballgame. I cannot tell you the number of young people and adults who are looking for someone to rescue them. Well, I was in a bad marriage, and I don't, and this hurt, and that worked, and, now. And I'm like, really? What are you doing to improve yourself now so that you don't do that again? Well, she said, and he said, doesn't matter. That's them. They were toxic. You apparently were toxic because you chose them. Go out and get some counseling, work through it so that you have a strong desire to be a person of strength and not take low choices on there. Find people that will improve your overall quality of life because the way they feel about themselves. The implications, I'm reading this, by the way, from Psych Central. I liked what I read here. The implications of lack of self-worth are many. Those with limited self-worth are more vulnerable to experiencing toxic relationships because they say, well, this is as good as I'm going to get. And okay, I'm going to have to settle for this. And then you both become toxic together and nobody is going to win that. They have self-defeating behavior, which includes negative self-talk. Bam, let's stop right there. That is a bullet point we don't want to miss. In fact, I stopped today and looked up Dr. Dwayne Dyer, Dyer. And he was like Dr. Phil of my generation. And Dr. Dyer, I read several of his books as a teenager. And I just loved his line of thought. Now, he passed away, I found out, about 7 years ago. Must have done well. He passed away in Malibu, so he did better than me. Maybe I should reread that book, right? Anyway, but he was the one that reiterated that power of self-talk. You see, you can train yourself on what you want to do and say. You see this all the time with athletes that are superior. Those people who say, I want to be this person. That means that instead of sleeping in, I'm going to go to the gym today. I'm going to run 5 miles. Not me, by the way, I have a bad knee, but they make decisions that they want to succeed, and then they develop the discipline that it takes to succeed in that area. That comes from self-talk. Avoidance of intimacy. That is, we are talking about traits of self-worth. You won't be intimate because you say to yourself, if this person really knows what I'm like, they won't like me. And that is true of being around people at school where you're not popular because you are having self-talk that is negative, or you're comparing yourself with others and sabotaging relationships because you feel like you don't deserve them. Every one of those traits will make you vulnerable to a pedophile. You know, pedophiles and predators and pimps, they are master psychologists. They can walk into a room and almost immediately tell who they're going to be able to prey on. And the same is true online. You're a sitting duck when you're out there playing on those video games or with people that you're talking to that you're starting to talk smack with, or you're on a dating site and you're playing and flirting on there. You're a sitting duck. These guys are trained psychologists to recognize low self-worth, and bam, they move right in and they know exactly how to develop that relationship where they began to reassure you that what you really think of yourself is not true, and they are going to be your hero. They are going to fix it. They are going to come along and make you valuable. And that's called grooming for exploitation. And that is how it works. Anyone who's experienced an unhealthy or an abusive relationship, they know all too well that the feelings of self-doubt that bubble up over time often get reinforced when staying in a toxic situation. Because of their lack of self-worth and their feelings of shame, they find themselves stuck in an unhealthy situation. It feels normal to them and they are comfortable because, once again, that self-talk, they'll blame themselves. That's exactly how domestic violence works. That guy tells her, well, sometimes it's her telling him, that you're not worthy, that nobody's ever going to take you up, and you're never going to be qualified. You're never going to be lovable. And you believe them and you process that and you serve it right back to them and you stay in that relationship. So I would encourage you, mom and dad, to getting back to our kids and how to build that strong self-worth, have that conversation early on. How do you see yourself? You're 13. You're about to start to decide what kind of person that you're going to be, one adult, that one day you're going to be away from me and you get to choose at this point. What do you think your strong points are? And what is it that you don't like about yourself that maybe we can change? Talk about physical activities and setting physical goals. That's very important, that physical self-care and that self-worth. When you go out, and I'm not going to tell you I'm an athlete, I'm not, but I'm going to tell you that taking care of yourself physically is a core indicator of your own self-worth. Help them, do they feel included in the family or do they feel like somebody else is getting priority? Talk with them about setting expectations and boundaries. Let them know that they are part of a successful family. We are whoever we are, and we're proud of you. We're the Larsons, and we're proud of you because you're the next generation of Larsons that are going to carry the family flag. And we know you have the ability to do that. Talk about being part of an extended family. If you're a grandma and grandpa, and you have a broken family and your grandchildren, come in there and let them know that they still are an important part of that extended family. That family has self-worth and self-confidence, and they are going to help be part of that and be a leader in it. You see, I still believe the four most powerful words in combating exploitation are "I believe in you." And we need more of that between our spouse and between our kids. We're up against that break, so we'll be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty, 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and this show is brought to you by Million Kids. We are a local organization, and we spend hour upon hour upon hour of research and educating all kinds of people, corporations, churches, law enforcement, first responders of all kinds, civic workers, social workers, all kinds of people. On top of it, we get involved in real cases. We serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. And I really want to just take a minute and let you know that I so much appreciate each and every one of you that support this show financially. We cannot do this without you. It is that simple. But we believe it's an important message because we know this is a universal problem out there. We know from the calls that we get from parents and grandparents to try to help a grandchild where maybe the family is split, or maybe they've sent naked photos, or they've disappeared, and suddenly they find out that they're really out there being trafficked, and how we get them to the right places to get them help. So that is why we do that. If you want to support our work, please go to millionkids.org, not .com. That's a rock band. You don't want to send them money. Anyway, send it to millionkids.org. And then just go to donate, or there's an address there. If you do the checks, I like checks. I'm old fashioned that way. So when we possess low self-worth, we're constantly trying to please and appease others. And I just think that that is absolutely an important line. I'm trying to figure out who I should be accounting to because I didn't make that up myself and I don't see it. But it is worth repeating. When we possess low self-worth, we're constantly trying to get our approval by pleasing and appeasing others. And social media plays right into that for our children because we talked about that last week. We're all like little robots. We go on Facebook and we post and somebody gives us a pat on the head and we're like, lap dogs. Yeah. Give me one more of those. And you come back, wag your tail and you pat your head and everybody thinks you're wonderful. And you've had a better evening that evening. Well, our children are into that kind of thing in a great way, because if they're online and they have low self-worth, there's very little limits that they will do to try to please and please someone that is simply a fantasy in their mind. They go online, they meet somebody, that person gives them everything that fills the hole in their heart. And it is literally just like taking candy from babies. Our kids are out there. It is amazing how many kids will send a naked photo within 1 to 2 hours of talking to a total stranger online. Those guys are good, and our kids are sitting ducks because we're not recognizing the environment that we're putting it into and having that conversation before they go on there about where that naked photo goes when they hit send and what's going to happen to them. So we become people pleasers who are invested in gaining approval because that's how we believe that we're going to survive, because we don't feel good about ourselves. It's that innate fear of feeling rejection, not realizing that we're adults now and that we have the ability to accept ourselves, to be happy in ourselves, and not look to others for that temporary feeling of safety. When we do gain the temporary approval for love or others, we feel safe. We no longer feel that looming fear of being rejected and abandoned. On an unconscious level, we've escaped death, or at least social death. But those feelings are fleeting, and we lack a fundamental sense of self-worth. We continue seeking approval from others, and the cycle goes on and on. So I brought that out because I want you to understand what is at stake when our kids go online. So how do we bulletproof our kids? I think it comes from setting goals for that very subject. Setting down and saying, I want my kid to be happy, but more important, I want them to be a well-rounded, well-adjusted, successful adult. And that is not going to happen by accident. We need to sit down and start to set standards. Talk about it with your children. Talk about, the fact that they're not perfect and that you're not perfect. But what will make them valuable is the decisions they make themselves, the decisions of their own self-worth, the decisions of what skills they have and what ones they don't have, the decisions of their values. Talk about values. I'm not sure that happens enough in families. Am I a person that's going to steal just because I see gangs of them going into the Sephora store? When you see that online, and I saw that this weekend, and I thought I would just throw up, it was just nauseating to me that this is our evening TV as bandits, gangs of bandits go into retail stores and literally take thousands of dollars of merchandise. Talk about the feeling of value about that, because you get a choice every day. Are you going to steal, or are you going to earn it? Are you going to find the good in other people? Are you going to go in and find the bad in other people so you feel better about yourself? Yes, that is a value. Our opinions, so many people will go in and begin to criticize other people because it makes you feel like you're superior. That is not a healthy value. And what it's really telling you is you don't feel good about yourself. And that really tells me that you will be vulnerable online because other people can come in and blow in your ear, and you will be off and running. Talk about the fact that the need for safety online, of how quickly all of that can disappear if they make a wrong decision online. Talk about practice of positive outcomes. That is so important, that they visualize themselves being successful. One of the things that I learned from this young man is that he had seen himself being an aerospace engineer since he was about 15, 16 years old. And there was nothing in his background that would have made him see that or do that. It isn't like he came from a long line of them. I'll share that with you. I met a kid one time at a group home, and I'll never forget this kid. I won't give his name because that's confidential. But the group home was full of very questionable people, obviously some gang members and a lot of people who were dressed a bit to the risque. And here's this young man sitting back in the corner listening to me. And I was talking about online gaming addiction. And he came over and told me, he said, when I still lived in a home where we had a computer, I was a bit addicted to games. But he said, I realized I was addicted, so I kind of cut it back. And I said, well, you seem very well put together. Why are you here? And he said, oh, yeah, I know what I want to do. I want to be a weatherman. I forgot what you call him now. And he said, and I was so impressed with him. He said, as soon as I can get back to Orange County and my home, I'm going to finish that. But I'm taking extra classes while I'm here so that I can get there as soon as possible. And this young man knew exactly what he wanted to be. And he had set those goals. I went out and bought him a book on hurricanes, as I recall. And I don't know whatever happened to the young man. It's been probably 4 or 5 years ago, but so he's an adult by now. But I was so impressed that even though he was in an environment that maybe, there were a lot of people around him that weren't obviously succeeding right away, this young man took the high road. He knew what he wanted to be, and he was going to stay focused on that. And he was going to make decisions to be successful and happy and not take shortcuts. And I share that with you. Every time you do what's right instead of what's easy, every time you take the high road and not the low road, you're much closer to having strong self-worth. And that's exactly what we need to prepare our kids to live in a world without borders, where millions of people will give them opportunity to take that shortcut, to have a little bit of fun, to have that private relationship, to make a little extra money, to be part of a team. And we have to empower our kids to take the high road and stand against them. My name is Opal Singleton. This organization is Million Kids. We'd sure appreciate it if you'd go online and support our work with your financial contribution. We would really appreciate it. We are here from the Inland Empire. We have been for over 10 years. We have a long track record of success and working with families and kids, and we need your help to be able to continue that. In the meantime, I hope you'll follow us at millionkids.org. Go on and sign up for insider alerts so you can learn about all the cases of trafficking and social media exploitation in the Inland Empire. So this week, folks, I hope you'll stop and look at your kids and look at your spouse. Give yourself a group hug. Let everybody in that family know that you're proud of them and that you believe in them. We'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift. and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.